All right. I think we're going. I am doing this by myself, so I've also got a laptop over here. I'm just going to make sure everything is looking and sounding good. But I think we're just about ready to go. We should be live. And I don't hear any static. All right. Greetings and welcome, everyone. This is going to be our PC live stream build. If you were here with me last week, we picked out all of the components, and you can see that I've actually got them all in the boxes here. I haven't opened anything yet. Part of the experience of building a PC is sometimes getting slightly damaged boxes, as a couple of these are, maybe missing or broken parts. So if any of that's the case, this will be a much shorter video. But if everything is here and live and actually working, then we should be able to put everything together and have an awesome experience. I did want to let you know that starting August, all of my Monday and Friday videos, we're going to start doing a giveaway for my beginner course. So on the Monday and Friday videos, just leave a comment and engage with me. Leave a comment and like the video, and I will randomly pick out a winner for a beginner course each week. So it's going to be twice a week, each video. It's a little warm in here, and that's kind of exciting. So, all right. So just checking messages, and I'm seeing maybe a spam bot. I don't know. All right, guys, good to see you. Let's go ahead. This is not my first time building a PC. I've done it several times, so I know what to do, assuming everything is working. So let's go ahead and I'm gonna grab a knife, or some scissors will work just fine. Oh, all right, Weeby, just checking. You saying, oh, okay, all right. All right, so I should have everything here, and let's find out what's actually in each box. So hopefully everything is in good condition and not hurt at all. Oh, yay. Meal vouchers or discounts on meal kits. That's exactly what I want. Okay, first up is the RTX 2070 Super. So this thing, that's a big box for a graphics card. I haven't bought a graphics card in a long time, so I didn't understand how large that box would be. Wow. I remember when I bought my first graphics card at Best Buy when I was like 14. It's a lot different. The Thiago del Peloso asks if building your own PC is cheaper than buying pre-built. And in my experience, about 90% of the time it is. If you want a pre-built computer, a lot of times you have to sacrifice a lot of different things to, what they want. But sometimes there are some really good deals out there, and it can be cheaper to buy pre-built. But I also got 2 free games out of this. I get to make some videos, and I really enjoy building my own PC. So for me, even if it was a little more expensive or even the same, I would definitely be building my own PC. All right. So you can see we've got a lot of stuff here. I've got my motherboard, RAM. I think that's the hard drive. That's the CPU there. I think this was the last box I received, which has the power supply in it. Oh, yay. Okay, power supply, and another meal kit coupon gift card. This one's actually different than the last one. Wow. They really want me to do that, but it's unlikely. Okay. Don't do it the Verge way. I don't know what that means, but I will try and do it the best way possible. So the specs on this, actually, well, the specs are the boxes, as you can see in front of you. So I've got a X5670 motherboard. I've got the AMD, which one is this? The 3900 XT. So this was $500 for the processor. It's really nice. I've got 32 gigs of RAM. I've got a 1 terabyte NVMe SSD. And then, ooh, wait a second. Okay. Weird. I ordered 2 of the same RAM, got it in 2 different boxes? Yeah, I have 32 gigs here. Okay, that's weird. And then 2070 Super, and then I got a new monitor as well. But the monitor is gonna come last, and holy cow, that's big. And now we need to open up the case. So, this box is ginormous. I'm not quite sure why it's this big. I think there's just an intense amount of padding going on, because I don't want my PC to be this large. But we'll see. Okay. Define XL, I don't know what that means. Okay, now we gotta take this out of the box. There we go. This is when it's nice to have help. I did invite a couple of my friends over, so it's possible that I'll have some people dropping by. We'll see what happens. Oh. What is my job? My job is, actually right now, I'm primarily a educator, online educator, so I am branching out a little bit in this video, building a PC, but I traditionally teach the game engine, Game Maker Studio, and I sell courses online for people who want to become game designers. Wow, that is annoying noise. I apologize. And I think I just broke something. Ooh. All right. I'm gonna be gentle with this as I can. Ooh, boy, oh boy, that's kind of scary. CPU cooler, that's a great question. I did not get an afterstock cooler. Everything that I have read says that the cooling is good enough on that, but apparently the cooler is not included, so I did not do my reading. So, thank you for pointing that out. It looks like I'm gonna need to pick up a cooler, so I'm gonna go through the whole build, probably not be able to actually get it running because it would not be safe to do so, but everything else I'm gonna go ahead and do, and then I will give you an update afterwards when I probably go down to Best Buy and pick up a cooler, because apparently it doesn't have one. Oh, so there's a whole user guide for this case, and this case is a beast. I think I may have ordered one a little too large. Like, jeez. I wanted a full-sized case, but this is a little, okay, it was facing the wrong way. That's probably about the same size. Well, it's a little larger than my previous one, but dang. This is gonna be a beast of a case. But that's okay. So I may, like, I got a 2070 Super, so it's entirely possible that I'll actually put these together, like I'll buy another one in the future. And this case is definitely gonna be larger. Yeah, the monitor I'm super excited for. 27-inch curved, it's gonna be beautiful. So what I've got right here looks like some extra parts for my case. Like I said, I'm not sure what's going on with that. I might need those, so I'll set them aside there. I might need this user guide after all. I don't know. Okay, so there's our PC. There's the, oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm not gonna be moving this thing around a lot. Kumar asks my favorite game. Oof. I feel like favorite game is kind of not a fair question. It's more of like what I'm playing, but to be as honest as I can, my favorite game would be Final Fantasy VI for the Super Nintendo because that's what I grew up playing, so it's the most nostalgic. But like, I also just played through XCOM 2 and loved that, so that's like one of my favorite games because I just played it. So, you know, that too. That's a nice box. All right. Cool. So there's our graphics card, I think ready to go. First thing I'm gonna need is this right here. So we're gonna start with the motherboard. So if you have never built a PC, it can be really intimidating at first, and hopefully what I do here is gonna help you with that. I haven't built my own computer in probably 3 years now. So what I'm gonna be doing is from memory, and probably gonna make a lot of mistakes. Hopefully I won't break anything, but building a computer can be intimidating, and the goal of this whole video is to show you that it doesn't need to be, all right? Opinion on RTS games. So Sean, I mean, I love RTS. I actually just started playing Mutant Year Zero Road to Eden or something like that. And that's an RTS stealth game with like some RPG elements. And I'm actually super enjoying it. It's a lot of fun. So RTS is becoming one of my favorite genres by far. And if you can code in anything, then learning GML will be significantly easier for you, yes. GML, the language of Game Maker Studio, is kind of like Java. It's a very lenient language in that it's not strictly typed or anything like that. So if you know any other language, you'll probably be able to pick GML up rather quickly, which is cool. Okay, so I don't have like all of the proper accessories. I know you can buy like a band to do anti-static discharge or something like that. I'm just gonna touch something metal. That way I don't break anything. If you touch something metal, it's supposed to like get rid of all of the static electricity in your hand, so should be better that way. Now, I'm trying to figure out how to do this. So, like I said, I'm here alone, so I can unbox everything, which is what I'm doing right now. Why did I put these meal kits right there? I don't want those. But to actually move the camera, I'm gonna come and try that probably once I get ready, so you can actually see everything. But we'll figure this out as we go along. That's part of the fun of it. All right. So here's the motherboard. Oof. It's very spiky. So motherboard, very nice, very pretty. It's got a lot of ports on the back and everything. When you're messing around with components like for the very first time, it can be scary because sometimes they seem fragile and they might bend a little bit. But for the most part, components are very well made. They're not gonna break if you like if you drop this, it's not gonna be great, but it would probably be fine. So as long as you're not really rough and you're not trying to put something in the wrong port where it can't go, you're probably gonna be totally fine. Yeah, so hard drive, RAM, CPU. So let's go ahead and do the CPU. I don't have a cooler for it. So if you're buying an AMD, apparently they do not include coolers anymore, just so you know. I definitely thought they did. I will have to be picking that up. This box is large enough. There could be a cooler right there. There should be a cooler right there. That's deceiving in my opinion, but just the way it is. Okay, so let me check my stream here. Let's see. I want to show you kind of up close what it's actually like to put the CPU in, because I feel like I've heard a lot of people are kind of scared to mess around with the CPU because, like, you know, this right here is $500, like what I'm holding. Ooh, let's not break it. But this right here, putting it in, it's actually super easy to do. So I think you can see fairly well right here. My stream looks like it's not coming up very well, so I'm gonna see if I can pull this up somewhere else and make sure that the stream is still running, and see if I'm in focus if I move a little bit closer, just to see if I can build it right a little bit closer in front of you. So let's do this. Yeah. Here we go. I'm gonna try not playing the audio though. I don't want to mess that up. Okay, looks like everything's working. I'm gonna go ahead and move my camera in a little bit and hopefully get it all in focus. So my apologies, it's gonna be a little moving around, but I'm gonna bring this in a little bit more. Bring it down to right about there. Focus in. Okay. I think that looks pretty good. Now what I want to do is actually put this in there. So, CPU, you just open it up. It's got a sticker if you want to like put that somewhere else. You don't want to put it on the CPU itself. But the CPU is very pretty. It's very shiny. Tells you what model it is and everything. Open it up. And then this is where it goes right here. And if you just figure out where the dots actually, like, so there's 4 empty slices right there. You figure out exactly where those go, and then you just put it in there. So I'm guessing it goes this way. If it slides in the way it's supposed to, like if it feels good, like that right there, it just slid in, right? If I try to put it in the wrong way, it won't at all. So if you try to put it in correctly, it just slides right in. And thank you, Mama Kato. Thank you. This is my kitchen. Welcome to it. So you slide that in and then just push that down. And now my CPU is installed. Like, that's it. So if we wanted to be able and put a heatsink on here, which I kind of thought there would be, we would take some gel or some paste, put it on there, and then just clamp the fan on there, and you might you'd screw it in right here on these 4 slots. So I might make a video and update this later, but that's what we've got for right now. So yeah, you're not gonna be able to break it with slight force. So if you, like, if I put it in wrong and I like push it down, it's not gonna go anywhere. The pins on the back are not gonna break or bend unless you use like some extreme force on those. When I say extreme, it's not like, you know, throwing it against a wall, but I can push down here and nothing's gonna happen. It's not gonna break. If it goes in, you're good. And then you just close it up. That's it. Okay, I'm gonna pull the camera back a little bit so you're seeing not just my stomach, because that's a little weird. Let's bring it back. And here we go. Okay. I think right there is what we want. My apologies for having to move this around so much. I don't have a team and I don't have different cameras. Hopefully, if you guys enjoy this and enough people want to see more live streams, then I would love to do more, and I'll pick up a second camera and be able to switch between those much easier. Okay, so that's the CPU. Now, let's go ahead and put the ROM in, or the RAM. Oof. So, RAM is another component that people get a little scared about because you can force it in the wrong way if you're not careful enough, but I'll show you exactly how to do it, assuming I can open the box, which is a precursor to being able to install the RAM. Now that's interesting. I think they may have sent me something wrong here, because I ordered 2 of these, and I most definitely did not get 2 of them. Well, we'll see what happens. Sometimes that's just the way it goes. All right. So what I've got here, yeah, 8 gigabytes by 2. So these are both 8 gigs. Gives me a total of 32 gigs, even if they are a little bit different. You can, I believe, I'm pretty sure you can mix different kinds, like different manufacturers of RAM. You can't mix different speeds. So when I say speeds, when you're looking at it, they're gonna have like DDR3, DDR4, and 32, 36. There's gonna be some kind of number past it, and that, you need to buy all of those speeds the same. So I guess I should actually make sure that what they sent me are the same speeds, because if they're not, I'm not gonna put them in. So this is PC4, 3200 megahertz. This one's 3200 megahertz as well. So yeah, they're both DDR4, 3200. So I should be able to mix and match these just fine. I really like the white RAM on these. I think it looks really, really pretty. So the RAM on this one also looks pretty cool. And it looks like it's got a Ryzen sticker on it, so it might be, you know, specifically made for the Ryzen boards or the Ryzen board and CPU, which is what we've got here. So when we look at the motherboard, what we've got next, so the CPU, and then we have RAM. So you've got locks on either side here that can, maybe on this one it's only on one side, because this isn't moving at all. The ones I'm used to open up on both. So on this one, it looks like there's only locks on one side, so it opens and it closes. Yeah, it's RGB. Both of them have RGB on them. This one, I don't think I ordered these on purpose, but this one has RGB and it was the same price, so that's cool. So on the RAM, what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to take one of the sticks, and it has a separator right here. So you wanna just line that up with where it's at. So like this is wrong. You probably can't see, but if I try to put this in, the separator doesn't line up perfectly. So if I turn it around and I slide in on one end, and you slide in on another, and you want to try and do it at the same time, and then as you push, that side actually it collapses inside of it, and it locks it into place, and you're good. Now, when you are, yeah. Oh, I think he was asking if it had RGB, not what RGB actually meant. But I don't know. Good clarification there. So when you're putting in RAM, it's really important that you want to alternate the stream. So if I only had 2 gigs, or if I only had 2 sticks of RAM, I would want to make sure that they go one free slot and then 1 open slot. When you're doing that, I can't remember the exact technical reasons, but the way it's designed, at least the way it used to be designed, correct me if it's completely wrong nowadays, but the way that it was designed is that when you only had 2 slots in there, you wanted to leave those other 2 free, so that way it worked correctly. So I put those ones in. Now I'm going to add these ones here. And these ones have to be turned around this way. I think because, ooh, wow. I don't know if you can see that, but there's a very big difference in size on these. Wow. So my computer case is plenty large enough if the RAM sticks out a little bit, but these are very different looking modules. Wow. All right, so the last one's always a little tricky to get in. I probably should have started with these ones, but all I do is press it in on both sides, it clicks, and we're good. Now, when you're installing the RAM, it is important to make sure that it does click all the way. You want to press it in a little more firmly than what you might think is necessary. And that's because if you don't install the RAM right, if it's not connected completely the way it should be, then it can cause some serious issues, including sparks and flames. Now, I say that from experience, unfortunately. When I was, I think, replacing RAM once upon a time, I didn't put it in all the way, turned on the computer, and it just started sparking and smoking. So you want to be very careful. Don't be afraid of it. You just make sure it's in there and you're fine, but make sure that it's actually in there all the way, all right? Now, let's see. I'm gonna need to actually install this, the motherboard, into the case here shortly, but let's do our hard drive first. So I've got a 1 terabyte NVMe right here. Now, NVMe I think is slightly overkill, but at the same time, I really wanted it, so I bought it. And this was, I think, only like $110 for a terabyte NVMe SSD, which really isn't bad. You could jump it up a lot to like 8 terabytes for like $1,500, which I would not recommend. But here it is. So if you're not familiar with the NVMe drives, they look a lot different than old hard drives that actually had mechanical spinning disks. They look a lot different than SSDs that kind of resemble those old hard drives as well. So on these ones, there's actually 2 slots for it, I think, and these are the, there's some protective covers on here. I have never installed one of these before, so this is actually going to be a learning experience for me. And I need to grab a screwdriver because I did not come completely prepared. So let's see. If I remember correctly, these 2 silver extensions are for the NVMEs. I'm going to assume the top one is where I should put it. So I'm going to go ahead and open that up. And yeah, let me go and find a screwdriver that's actually going to work. I'll be right back. All part of building a new PC though. And if you're still listening to me, you should be able to hear me, which is kind of creepy. Kind of like stalking me right now. All right, I think I've got one here. Now, this little kit of mine is by no means amazing, and it only kind of does the job. I've been looking into getting a new, like, iFixit repair kit. So if you use any of those and you have a good experience or a bad experience, I guess let me know, because I would love to know if it's worth picking one of those up. I don't delve into computer parts a lot, but I certainly do a little bit. So I wouldn't mind having something that works really well and is reliable. All right. So it's a lot longer of a screw than I thought it was. Okay. Now, like I said, I have not done this before, so I don't actually know how this is supposed to come off. I know it does come off, but I haven't actually done these yet. So let's take a look. The screw came off, and all right, I'm not getting any, that one's not coming off, and I do not want to rip. So I'm going to try taking this one off, see if it works any different, and maybe if I'm missing something somewhere. If you've installed an NVMe on a 570 motherboard, let me know what I'm doing wrong and if this is even the right place to be putting them. Oh, I wonder, I think you have to take all of these off. So this whole thing is a protective shield for the NVMe drives. So let's go ahead and take it all off. Okay. Oh, okay. So this part came off. There's a fan under there. And now, this silver one here, I can take that last screw off. This comes off, and looks like I can remove this if I want it to be sticky. I'm not sure why I would. I'm gonna go ahead and take my NVMe, and let me turn this around so you can kind of see. So, the NVMe is gonna just, I assume, slide right on in here. I think it kind of like clicks down. So you want to click it in so that it's kind of standing up on edge, and then it kind of bends downward. And then there's a screw that will go right there. And I'm guessing if I peel this off, it would be sticky. So it would make it stick a little bit better. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. As soon as I can get that stickiness off. Okay. Wow, I messed that up. Well, that's okay. Okay. I'm going to peel that off, and now we're going to put this back on. There we go. So that will put it back down in place. I'm going to screw that in there. I'm going to take this long screw and put it in there. So that's right where the, oh, uh-oh. Wait a second. Okay. I did not have that aligned up properly. Let's make sure this is where it's supposed to be going. So it goes right there, covers up the NVMe exactly. Oh, I'm still off. And it protects it while it runs. Okay, so I won't be able to show you, but my NVMe is down. Oh, okay. So now what I think I want to do is like press it up to the sticky part. That way it kind of stays straight. So there we go. I'm going to put this shield back on the motherboard, and then that will take care of the hard drive installation. So this motherboard can have 2 hard drives, or 2 NVMEs, and obviously it can have a whole lot more hard drives than that. Okay, so that goes on kind of at an angle, and there we go. Cool. All right. So next thing I'm going to do is put this into the PC, or into the case itself, because the graphics card is ginormous and I don't want to be moving it around, moving the motherboard with the graphics card around. So I'll open up the power supply in just a minute, but first I'll move this back here. Close that up. You do need to have some smaller tools to be able to actually open up and do some things with this. Now, hopefully this case is a little bit easier to work with than most. I tried to buy it because it looks like it was simple to get on and off, but we'll see. Okay. So, ooh. Glass side just kind of pops right off, which then opens up this. Wow. Oh. So this rig is going to be my work rig. I'm also going to do some gaming on it for sure, but, and I'm answering Kumar here. I have Xbox Game Pass on it, so I'm going to be playing those games and actually doing some reviews in the future on game subscription services, which I find very interesting. And I also got Death Stranding and Assassin's Creed Valhalla with this purchase. So I'll definitely be playing those on here as well. And from my understanding, I should be able to play pretty much anything on here. So, good for US standards. Oh, Peloso asks if I'm building this PC on US standards. It's kind of hard to get parts due to the pandemic. So I am not familiar with non-US standards. I've lived in the US my whole life. And so yes, it is up to US standards, whatever that means. I'm not actually sure what that even means. But if it's hard to get parts, then probably want to wait, because if it's hard to get parts, then they're probably going to charge a premium for everything you can get. And you might just not want to deal with that, which I would totally understand. So I'm not sure what other standards there are. If you know of any, or if you have a link to it, definitely let me know. I'm very curious. So before I put this in the motherboard, before I put the motherboard in the case, let's go ahead and open up the power supply and install this here, because that is what we want to do, and we want to get all of the cable management in place as best we can. Now, I am not a huge... Oh, yes, this is beefy. This rig is a $2,000 rig with a NVIDIA GTX 2070 Super. You should be able to play anything, including VR, which I just had a conversation with a friend. Not going to probably get it right now, but hopefully sometime in the future. But what I want to do now is install the power supply, because there's cable management. We want to move things around inside of this case. I'm actually going to move this up here, and I might come around here. Kumar is asking for my thoughts on GMS 2.3, and that's a great question. And honestly, I'm really excited. I did like an impressions video. I haven't had a lot more time with it yet, but from everything I'm seeing, 2.3 is a really great update, and like it's only going forward. I'm really looking forward to actually, when they launch it, to be able to do much more advanced data structures, linking with arrays and how they're going to work now. That's going to completely change how you use data structures and arrays, which I think is a good thing, because the way they have it now is not very friendly. Sorry if that's loud and annoying. I didn't even think about that. Okay, let's see what we can do here. I'll try to keep this up so I can still keep seeing. And now what we're gonna do is install the power supply. So I really love modular power supplies. I think they're just awesome. This one even has a little case, which I think is a little overkill, but modular power supply simply means that the cables can come and go as you please. Each one is an independent entity, so if you need more power, you just grab another cable and they can all plug in to the power supply as you're going. So the back of it here has 8 different ports, maybe 10 different ports, 9 or 10 different ports here that you can plug in. Here are all of the cables that we've got. There's a ton of different ones. So there's a few that are essential, and a lot of the other ones are optional. So when you build a PC, you don't have to go big like this. You don't even have to buy like a dedicated graphics card or anything. You can just do a kind of a smaller build, and that's totally fine. If you want a cheap PC and you just want to be able to, you know, run a game or build some software or just browse the internet, you can build a PC for a couple $100, and then you get a power supply and you just need like 1 or 2 of the cables. That's just fine. Paleso asks, is it better to buy the Steam's license or the Yo-Yo Games? Apparently many of the licenses are limited. So when talking about Game Maker, I think it makes a lot more sense to buy specifically from Yo-Yo Games, as they're the ones selling it, and they don't do like an up fee sale, I don't think. As far as I know, I think the Steam and the Yo-Yo Games are the same price, and that way you can have access to your account directly from Yo-Yo Games. That just makes a lot more sense. Limited in the sense of, yeah, if you're going to buy a license that's not like the default developer version for desktop, you want to wait until you're just about ready to actually start testing your game on whichever platform it is. So mobile and console, I think, are limited, and you want to make sure that you're not buying that when you're starting your development, because you can test your games on your computer with controllers, with touchscreens and everything, and code it exactly the way you need to. And then when you're getting ready into beta phase and you want to actually put it on an Xbox or a PlayStation or a Switch or something, then you buy the license. It's good for a year, and you can then put it on there and test it directly on them. So wait until you are ready to do that is what I would suggest. So let's bring up the motherboard and check out which power things we need here. So the big one on the motherboard is right here next to the RAM. It's going to be different depending on where it's at, but it's this really big cable. I think it's a 24 pin. I'm not sure. They're talking about changing different cables here pretty soon, but at least right now this is what we're using. And you just stick it in. You want to make sure you stick it on the side where the snap is actually going to go, on the correct snap side. And on the power cables, you actually have to like kind of work kind of hard to get them in there. Now I'm pretty sure that's what we want to do. Let me make sure. So on our power supply, I've got 24 pin ATX, that's for the CPU, PCIe, and peripheral. Okay, so I can't plug that in there, so that is the end that needs to go on the motherboard. And this end goes into the power supply. So it goes in there, you push until it's stuck, and you have to actually hold down the snap to take it out. That means that it's actually in correctly. You hear a little click when it does it. It's very, very small though. And now what we'll want to do, not just yet, but this end will go on the motherboard. But before we do that, all of these cables, the key to building, having a nice clean looking build is cable management. And I am not an expert on cable management, but this case specifically has little lips, right? Like little Velcro parts that we can stick our cables through. That way, yeah, there's tons of them in here. That way we can have cables in the back, our motherboard up front. Everything here is nice and clean, and all the cables are underneath and behind. So that's what we're gonna aim for. I am not great at it, but we're gonna give it a try. So standard license is 12-month. The first permanent license is what you want to get when you start getting serious, and that's what you can do pretty much everything with. Like, you won't be able to build on the machines that have those temporary licenses, but you can make your game and test out everything before that with that $100 license. So start there. When you're ready to actually deploy like a pretty close to done game, buy it, and then you can start putting it on the console. Okay, so what I'm missing right now is going to be the screws. And usually, in my past experience, the screws always came with the case. So the case box is back here. Maybe it's this extra thing. Had a few extra parts in it as well, so I'm going to go ahead and take these out. Well, maybe. That's accessories little box. I think that, yeah, accessories for cable management and screws and everything. That's what we wanted. So I'm still not sure what this is. I may take a look at the manual later. We'll see. All right. So now that we actually have what we need on this, let's take this stuff out. Oh, cleaning cloth. That's important. So all of these come in tiny little bags with the screws in there. So all of these screws are different types and they go in different spots. So this part can be a little intimidating because there's so much here. These are little rubber pads, which I am assuming you put underneath the screw and then you screw it in there. That way it gives a little bit of protection for the motherboard. I haven't actually ever used these myself, but I'll give it a try. I'm guessing that's what they're for. If not, please correct me before I make a monumental mistake. So, power supply first. Okay, so on the back here, there's a Smart Zero fan you can turn on or off. I've never heard of that. On, the fan does not operate if the PSU at low loads. Off, silent fan operation. Okay, so apparently there's an extra fan and you can turn it off if you don't want it. I'm gonna go ahead and put it on so that it's smart in case we do need it. So turn it to off before you start. The 0 O is on, I is off. Make sure it's off before you start plugging things in to any walls or anything like that. So that's where the actual plug-in, I have to take that off. Kind of clever, I guess. Gives you the explanation, but then forces you to take it off. So this is gonna go in right at the bottom there, actually. So now is when things are gonna get a little more messy. I'm gonna go ahead and move. This is my graphics card. I'm gonna put that back there on the monitor for now. I'm gonna put these cables over here, because the first thing we're gonna do is actually put the PSU in. All right. Let's see. So on this one, looks like we've got a couple screws which unfortunately aren't actually twist off, even though they have a twist off look. Maybe after I do that? Yeah, they come off easier then. Okay, so this PSU actually looks like it has a little plate around it. So I take that off. And then there's a bunch of cables down here. These cables are not for the power supply. They are actually going to be for all of the peripherals on the motherboard. And when I say peripherals, I mean, so the back ports, the front ports up here, they all have to connect to the motherboard. If I want to plug in a USB port up there, that port has to, it's got wires in there. You can't see them right now, but it's got wires that run down all the way to here, and then they plug into the motherboard in a very specific spot. So let's see. I think, yeah. Let's take a look at this. So the bottom of this slides out. And I'm trying to see if anything else actually comes out. I'm not sure what that really does. Okay. So I can put the power supply in, but I need to be able to access these cables. So I'm going to go ahead and unzip tie them and then shove them through the bottom here so that they are in the main case space. So these are fairly small cables. Just going to move them in one at a time. These are going to go plugging in into the motherboard itself, and that means that they need to be up here, not where the power supply is at. That doesn't make any sense at all. I might move these eventually. We'll see. There we go. Okay. So here's the reset switch, power switch, all of that stuff right there. Okay. So now that is inside there. Now we can take our power supply and not just shove it in there, because that won't work. It's too large, which means that maybe this whole section comes off. Interesting. So on my previous computer, they didn't have an extra section down here for cable management. So this part would be gone, and I would just take the power supply and slide it right into place. But I have a whole section here that is preventing that, and I've not seen that before. like I said, I don't do this all the time, and so I'm not familiar with all of the different case designs that are out there. But, and sometimes I'm just an idiot. So this does just slide right on in. It is pretty much the right size. However, before I lose it inside there, I know I'm gonna actually need to have a way to screw it in. So let's see, I've got 2 screws, three screws on the side. So I've got to figure out exactly where this is supposed to go. So it looks like I might actually want to consult the user manual for my case. And of course, what did I do with it? You know, I just tossed it on the ground somewhere because who needs a user manual for a case? Have you ever heard of something so ludicrous? All right, give me just a moment. Okay, now you get to see me read instructions. If this was not on your wish list of things to do this weekend, oh boy, lucky you, because now you get to do it without having it be on the wish list. Okay, so this looks like, wow, double processor build, water reservoir build, double optical drive build, server build. So this is a server case. Dang, I think I bought the wrong case here, guys. Okay, let's check this out. So the top bracket comes off if I want to remove that. Sure. You remove the side panels, installing the power supply. Right there, look at that. So that's the back. I should be on the back. Let's have a read-along session, shall we? Install the power supply. That's literally all it says in English. Okay. I'm going to turn this the way that I'm looking at it. My mind doesn't flip things that well. Okay, so yeah, I took off those plates just fine. Yep. And it says to screw that plate with an extra screw right on there. So I take these ones out, all the way out. And then I can actually put them in the right spot for my power supply. So it's gonna look, there we go. That's where they go. So it's gonna be one, goes up top here as I lose the pieces. So there's gonna be one that goes up top, one that goes on bottom, and then one on the side there. So I'm gonna need to find 2 more of these screws, which I think I've already seen, and put them inside here. Although, yeah. No, okay. My bad. Those screws stay there. And we use the flathead screws. Use 4 of these bad boys. Okay. That actually fits. Wonderful. So we've done the expensive part already. The motherboard, which has like 3/4 of the cost of building a computer, that part's already done. This part, this power supply was like 80 bucks. Like, it's not expensive. But, of course, It's the most complex so far. Just goes to show things are never what you think they're going to be. Okay. So we're screwing this back plate onto my actual power supply. And then we're going to put it in, I think. Yeah, I don't have a cooler for my CPU, so I can't do that part yet. But that's okay. I can install the motherboard itself. Yeah, so I'm not going to put this in for a little bit, because if I put it in now, there's no power cables plugged in. What I'm going to want to do is pull the power cables through, plug them in right there, and then put that in. So I'm going to put these back in before I lose them. And I'm going to put the motherboard in and show you what that is like, because that part's not very hard either. At least I say that, and then of course we're going to have 1,000 different problems. So let's see what happens. And it is pretty warm in here. I turned off the AC just for you guys. Hope you appreciate that. Put this back on. I don't know what this is doing. Never mind. All right, so we're gonna put the motherboard in. When you're putting the motherboard in, there's just like 18 different screws that you put in there to make sure that it's actually the right way, because you want your motherboard to be secure, you don't want it to fall off, and you don't want it to be moving around like if you move your PC at all. Which, considering this is like a server case, I'm not going to be moving it. I don't think I'm ever going to move this PC again. But if we actually look inside here, which you should have been, maybe you've seen already. So what we're going to be doing is putting the motherboard right here. And there's screw slots for every single place. So 6, 9. So I'm seeing 9 different slots for screws, and that should line up perfectly on the motherboard when I place it in there. These are all going to connect to the motherboard eventually, but for now we're just going to go ahead and install this. Ooh. And the way it installs is going to be lining up with the screws. And, well, actually, okay, fine. Let's consult the manual and see what it suggests. It already saved me once. So I'm seeing it says the front of the case looks like that in the picture. Motherboard, oh well, actually, okay, there's a much easier way of doing this. If you use your brain, unlike me, you will see immediately that there's a back port to the motherboard. So that immediately dictates where it goes. So you want to line it up so that it sits on those screws and the back portion is there. You don't want to have any cables in the way, like this fan cable should go up a little bit. And then what we'll do is just slide it right in. Now, obviously it fits right there. I made sure that this was compatible with this motherboard. Now, it is sitting on top of all the screws. It's exactly where it should be. Now I'm just going to put them in. So I use 9 of those flathead screws yet again. So I've got them right here. And here we go. This part's kind of boring. Wish I had like an up camera angle for you guys. That'd be kind of cool. But a big part of this was also doing it live. And sometimes doing it live means not having those super close shots that you can actually see everything. I hope that's okay. I hope you appreciate that. Instead of a very well polished, done 5-minute build video, you actually get to see everything, including the very silly mistakes that even a semi-experienced PC builder can and does make. So you just want to make sure that you get all of the screws in there. It looks like one screw is actually going to be underneath the plate where I installed my hard drive. So I'm going to have to take that plate off again, which is a little annoying. I'll probably do that after the video. I don't think you want to see me have to do that. But that still gets me 8 screws so that my motherboard is firmly in place and it is not going anywhere. Ooh. Wish I had a magnetic screwdriver. That would be nice. Okay. Voila. Motherboard is now in place. So it's not going anywhere. I can probably tighten those up a little bit, which is always a good thing to do. But it has a little bit of give, but for the most part, it's going to be really nice. It's going to be in there and look really good. Okay, now what we want to do is actually connect all of these cables here. And there's a couple different ways we can actually bring them in, which we might do depending on how we want to do that. But if you look, if you can see, there's a whole bunch of cables coming from here, goes in the back, they come out here. So this case has a lot of I/O on the top. 4 USB, 1 USB-C, restart, power, and headphone and mic. So all of those have wires that run down here. I believe there's 2 USB 3.0s, which I think is this blue one here. I'm not totally sure, but all of those have to be hooked up to where they're supposed to go. And fortunately, it's actually usually pretty easy. This is, yeah, it tells you which ones are which. It doesn't tell you exactly where they go though. So where you probably want to look, and this is where you definitely want the manual, is actually from the motherboard. So let's grab that. Oh, hey, this has a coupon as well, which I don't know, maybe I want, but it has a CD for drivers, which also might be useful. So I saw a couple comments. I'm going to go look at those really quickly. Looks like some people are talking, which is awesome. Awesome. Keep it up, guys. So the motherboard manual is actually really useful because the specific motherboard has all of the plugins in different places, which means that you need to consult this for where they're supposed to go. Let's go ahead and take a look. I don't care about introductions. I already installed all of the RAM. Here we go, expansion slots. Onboard LEDs. So there's an actual onboard like number system here, which can give you like readouts for errors and stuff, which can be pretty useful. Okay. Here we go. So all of the accessories that we've got here, all of the plugins are going to go down right at the bottom here, which makes sense. It's exactly where they should be. So sometimes they actually have their names on the motherboard itself, which looks like it does here. And if they line up perfectly, great, because then that's super easy. So let's go ahead and try that. I'm going to pull my phone out to use as light, which maybe actually makes it worse. So I see, starting on the right, we've got an M2 fan, and these are also labeled. So this one right here is HD audio, That one is not labeled, but I think that's the USB. That one looks like it's power. This one looks like it's some kind of SATA. This one is USB, so this would be the USB for the front. So, USB 1.2 and USB 3.4 are all up here. So I'm gonna go ahead and plug this one in right there. I'm gonna go ahead and turn this so I can see a little bit better. My apologies, you won't be able to see near as well, but I'll try to make it quick. So, we've got all these cables, they're labeled. I'm just finding the appropriate names. The only really tricky one is gonna be, there's a set of really small cables on here, and you have to get these exactly where they're supposed to go. So we've got reset switch, power switch, and then power LED minus and power LED plus. These ones, if you get them wrong, there's nothing like, it's not gonna break anything if you get them wrong the first time you do this. So don't stress out about that. Like when you're building it, just do your best, put it together, and then as long as you've got the RAM and the CPU installed correctly, everything should be fine. If your power button doesn't work the first time you try it, no problem. You just turn everything off, and then all you do is do it again. That's it. You just move some cables around and see if that works. The computer I was using a couple years ago, like I built it myself, and the front USB ports like never worked. I never got them correct. I think there might have been a defect on the motherboard, but it also might just have been me, which, you know, that's okay. So, let's take a look. These ones are a little tricky, and we actually do want to consult this here. So, this one will tell you exactly where the power and all of that stuff goes. Assuming you can find it correctly. Here we go, CPU fan, all of that. ATX power. It's gonna be in here somewhere. System power, 2 LED. 2 pin, it's gonna be on the right, there it is. That looks like the breakdown right there. I'm sure you can't see it, but I found the page. It tells you exactly where they're supposed to go on the motherboard and in the specific little pins. So once you find that, you just do your best to follow along, put them where they go, and it will probably work just fine. So let's give it a try. So power button is there, reset is there. So reset is on the bottom of this one, so I'm gonna put that there first. And you gotta stick these in hard enough that they go all the way down. Power switch. And then LED plus and minus. That one goes over here. Okay. And that one goes right there. All right, that's the tricky part, I think, right there. Everything else is probably just fine. So the HD audio, it looks like it's the speaker front panel, USB 3.4, USB 1.2. Never connect a 1394 cable to the USB connectors. Doing so will damage the motherboard. Okay, so you can damage the motherboard, apparently, if you put the USB ones in the wrong spot. So we'll just make sure that those are the right ones. That's all. So mine is already bundled together. It looks like sometimes the USBs on the front can actually be individual. So my motherboard, or my case company, was kind enough to put them together for me, which is nice. That way it's highly unlikely that I can actually make a mistake. So, my front of my case does open up, and I think there's actually a place for me to put in a CD drive, which I think is what one of these cables is for, but I'm not totally sure. So we'll figure this out. Audio, sensor. There are some cables in here I just don't recognize. So I apologize if it's a little boring to watch. But again, that was kind of the whole purpose of this. Not to be boring, but to actually show you what it's like building a computer, especially if you don't know what you're doing. USB 3. So there's one cable here that clearly goes way up top there. So there's something on the bottom here which I can actually remove and move around, which I'm very curious. So this doesn't seem to have enough length to reach the top of the motherboard, which makes me wonder if my motherboard, if the back can come off or the other side can come off, because it looks like it's supposed to. Let's try it. A lot of times, yep, both, or almost, I think all the time, both sides actually come off. So what I want to do is now we can get an exposed look at how they managed their cables, which is kind of cool. So you can see it's fractal. They've got things managed actually very well here. Things are run real smooth. I don't even know what all that is for, but this told me to pull it. There we go. Everything comes off. Cool. So hard drives actually go down here. That's pretty neat. And what this means, I need this cable, but I need this cable here, I think. Let's check it. Man, putting my PC case back together is going to be the toughest part of this build. Okay, yeah, so this is USB. So this goes right there. So then I can kind of push it back a little bit so that it's kind of out of the way and managed fairly well. So most of the cables go on the edges of the motherboards. There are some up here. I don't think I'm going to need them, but there are spaces, you see, for all of it. There is some power that goes up there. So this is really cool. This is a very well-designed case to actually get your cables out of the way, which is super, super neat. So now, let's just get the rest of these plugged in. This one is going to go down here. This is the only place for this to go. So by deductive reasoning, it goes right there. This is HD audio. This is USB. I'm going to go ahead and plug that right back in where I had it. Okay, so that's in. So the only one I'm missing is HD audio, which there's one missing here, but it doesn't fit there. AAFP is going to be my guess. Yeah, I think it goes right there. Sometimes you just do some guesswork. Looks like there's one tiny one here. Just has a 3-pin slot. So where does that go? So now all I'm doing is looking for one that has a 3-pin slot, just side by side. Or maybe just 2. Oh, it's definitely 3. So I'm just looking for a 3-pin slot where I can put this, and I should probably actually figure out what it is. This looks like, I'm guessing this is for the M2 fan, so I'm actually going to put this right there. Couldn't tell you if it's gonna work, but we're gonna try. So now what I'm gonna do, now that I think I have most of those in there, there's still other things here on the back, but I'm gonna figure those out as I go along. I think some of those are for the hard drives. I'm gonna pull these cables down and out of the way, which is the whole purpose of cable management. Now, if I wanted to do this well, I could probably bring all of them in, wrap them up with some kind of tie, and it would look nicer. But I still think that looks pretty good. It's down there, looks fine. I'm gonna check on my camera battery really quick. I don't have an external source for it, so if it dies, I'll have to replace the battery. Yeah, I am at 1 tick right now, so hopefully it doesn't die before we're done here. An external battery is on my list of things to pick up shortly though. If you guys like this, if you are enjoying this live stream, please do let me know. If you are not enjoying it, also let me know. I plan on doing more of these. I also plan on doing some tutorials live streamed, which I think would be very fun and very interesting. So let me know what you're thinking, and let me know if I could be doing anything better. And that is definitely upside down. If I could install this correctly, that would probably be better. I don't know which way this is supposed to go. The logo is upside down one way, not the other way. Okay. I'm gonna do it so that I can read this label Smart Fan 0. That's what I'm gonna say is right side. Now, I'm gonna put this in here. Oh, wait a second. I'm doing this all wrong. My apologies. What we actually have to do is connect some of the power, but what I wanna do is take the main power supply, main power cable that we've got here, and I'm gonna try plugging this in and seeing if I got that power button working and just running the PSU. I'm not gonna power up the motherboard. Like I said, I've gotta go buy a cooler for it. Make sure that you always have a cooler. CPUs actually get incredibly hot. If you didn't know that, and if you don't cool it properly, it can destroy your CPU or your motherboard or everything if you're not careful enough. Okay, so this looks like it's actually kind of modular as well, but we want this 24-pin connector. I'm gonna put it in here. I'm gonna really push hard, make sure it's connected properly all the way. Then this is gonna go, this needs to go down to where our power supply is going. And that means that where these cables are is where I need to go. But I'm actually gonna see, on the bottom here is where the old mechanical drives go, but I'm not gonna be using, I think I'm gonna use, well, I might actually use 4 of them, I don't know. I've got a lot of external storage that I'm thinking about converting into internal, and if I do that, I'm gonna wanna have all of those spaces on them. When you do video, and you keep it, which you should, it starts taking up a lot of space. So these are 4. Okay, so what would I do? Let's see. If I bring in my power back here, I can pull it straight there, and then I could bring it down here. Yeah. So that's behind the scenes. That way the actual case itself continues its nice clean look. So let's go ahead and plug this one in to the power supply itself. There we go. Okay. So, well, actually I don't want it plugged in right now. The last thing I'm going to show you on the build assuming my camera lives long enough, I should be checking the stream, making sure it's still alive, is I'm going to show you the installation of the graphics card. So the graphics card is a beast. It is huge. You saw how big the box was. And here, remove before gaming. Oh, thank you. Wow, I have not held one of these new ones before. Like, it's bigger than my face. That's how large it is. That's crazy. Man, that is crazy. So, this thing has a spot for power that would go from the power supply to this. It has a little safety part, PCI Express port. I want to say this is 3.0 or 4.0, but it's going to fit in one of these slots right here. So my motherboard has a place for two, not necessarily just graphics cards, but anything that uses this port. All right, so I'm just going to turn that around. Now, the way you install it is actually going to be kind of upside down from where you might think, but the lettering looks like it's correct. So we got to put this end so that it's on the back here. Now, wherever we put it, we're going to take off one of these end brackets. So I got to have a screwdriver for that. Okay. So we take this off. It's always a good idea to keep these. Very much want to keep the screw because you're going to put that right back in. So this is where, well, all right. So my camera died. It is back to being live. My camera died. Audio still sounds good. Let's finish the installation of the graphics card. So we're going to slide this in. Yeah. After we uninstall two. If you see here, there's actually two pieces. So that means it takes up two slots on the back end. So we're going to remove two of these. And then we're going to put this bad boy in. Here we go. Unless, of course, it looks like it fits in one more down than the one I started on top. I don't know why they have that top one there. I don't know what it would like fit in there for, but oh well. Okay. One more try. Here we go. So this has like a case. The motherboard actually has like a little protective slider in there, so you know exactly where it's supposed to go. Slide it in, and then you have to push. So you want to make sure it's in correctly. Like, you don't want to be putting it in wrong, but you have to push in a little bit, and if you get it right, it should sit right there. Now you want to support it with these screws right back in there. Assuming you can get them just right. Okay. So that's one. And two. Okay. Yeah, so I could put in one more right there if I wanted to. Drop another $500. Okay. So I'm gonna try plugging this USB back in, but Okay, there we go. That should work. All right, now we need to power the power card, the GPU. So we're gonna find the right one. The way you find it is just look to see which one is gonna fit. So this is actually gonna take a 6-pin and an 8-pin. So you wanna find one that has a 6-pin and an 8-pin. And you might need a couple different cables. I'm not actually sure. Looks like, so this one is labeled PCIe. And this one is not. So let's try out this cable first. Okay, so 6 and 8, yep. So this is what we're gonna want. So it's got 2 here. So the first one goes on top. So that's a 6-pin, so there's an extra 2-pin connector here, which we're not gonna do anything with, so I'm just gonna like hide it right there. Then there's an extra one here, same thing. It's got 6, but then it has that extra 2, which on this one we do actually want. So I'm gonna put that right in. Maybe. Come on. Let's try doing the 2-pin first. There we go. And then the 6-pin. Much better. Okay, 2-pin first. Okay, so we've got those in there where they're supposed to be. Hide that extra one. Power cable. It's gonna come through the PC so that looks like it's kind of hidden. And then you can bring it right out back. Although this one, oh yeah, this one's gonna have a tougher time hooking up because it's a lot shorter. So I will definitely need to actually put the PSU in a fair bit of the way before I can plug this one in, which is fine. Yeah, I can reach that and plug it in. I think that'll be just fine. So I think that is where I'm going to end the live stream. It's getting very warm in here and I'm getting a little tired. So this is gonna be my workstation when I finish it. I'm gonna run some benchmarks on it, do some game tests. If you're curious about that, let me know. There's a lot of different ways to stress test a computer and it's important to do so. Make sure that the parts are actually good, but I suppose the first thing I've got to go and do is buy a cooler. So I'm gonna go down, pick myself up a very nice, well, good enough cooler. I don't really care that much, just want it to be good enough. I'm gonna pick up a good enough cooler and hopefully get this up and running today. So that's everything I've got for you. Hopefully you enjoyed that. If you enjoyed it, leave a comment and a like. Let me know what you'd like to see next. And as I said, we are going to start doing giveaways on Mondays and Fridays. That's when my tutorials are going to be coming out now. Sometimes I'll do a bonus video on Wednesday. Wednesday you can expect kind of more random things. Sometimes I'll do discussions. Sometimes I'll just make a video that I've wanted to make or something that pops up that I did. So Monday and Fridays are going to be the tutorials. Going to do Game Maker, and I'm going to eventually start doing web development as well. I'm going to focus on building more like websites to show off your game that maybe you're working on, or how to build a blog to be able to get people interested in what you're doing, because I think that is really important. So yeah, look forward to that. And I'm going to start doing giveaways starting in August, so just leave a comment on my videos if you want to win the beginner course of mine from my website. Thank you so much for joining me, and as always, keep making, keep learning, and I'll talk to you later. Now I have to go turn the stream off, and it's super awkward because I already did my outro, so there we go. Thanks guys, bye.